And structure of maintenance system. I, Manoj Kumar Raut, Assistant Professor, Operation Management. So let's discuss the overviews of this topic, organization and structure of maintenance system. So these are the objective of today class. So students understand the component of maintenance organizations, understands the goal and objective of maintenance organizations. Third, understand the key issue evolving maintenance organizational structures, define the role and responsibility of maintenance teams, and the last objective we have, develop a suitable maintenance organization for any plant related to manufacturing as well as that is known as product oriented organizations. So these are the objective of today's sessions. Let's understand what are the outcomes. So we have the students identify the core element of maintenance organizations as well as the maintenance organization structures. Then create a structured maintenance plan incorporating various maintenance tasks, which is basically assigned by the top level to middle to bottom. The next is effective manage and optimize the maintenance resource allocations. Whenever any kind of breakdowns is happen, in that cases, you have to optimize various amount of that is known as resource allocation, especially reference to man, machine, and material. Then emphasize the importance of clear communication between maintenance team, operational personnel, and other stakeholders to ensure maintenance executions. So these are the outcomes of today's sessions. Let's start the sessions. So introductions in case of maintenance organizations, if you observe this particular figure, in every organizations we have a plant managers, and under the authority of plant managers we have maintenance managers, then we have maintenance supervisors, we have maintenance trades, especially reference to electrical maintenance. The next one is mechanical maintenance, or in case of that is known as civil maintenance we have. Then we have maintenance planners. They can daily execute the day-to-day activities related to maintenance. Then we have functional level that is known as employees we have, which are simply known as operations maintenance coordinators. So these are the typical structure of a that is known as maintenance organizations, which is applicable to many industries. Where it is applicable to, as I told, that is known as large scale industries. They have large amount of maintenance organizational structures. The next important part is it's also applicable to small scale industries as well as that is known as medium scale industries. So in case of that is known as introductions, the term maintenance organizations refers to a group of individuals with a common goals who collaborate to maintain adequate machineries and equipment reliabilities in order to achieve the efficient operations and high quality outputs. So this is the fundamentals that is known as objective of maintenance organization structures. They can have a particular teams, and these teams should be simply mobilized from one places to other places so that the machines and equipments are efficiently operated to get higher side of that is known as quality of product or quality of outputs. So if you observe in case of maintenance organizations, which is basically made of three necessity interconnected components. What are the component we have? So the first one is that is known as resources. The second one we have that is known as administrations, and the third one we have work planning and control system. So in case of resources, as I told, that is known as man, machines, tools, and specific size and composition, and they can be easily mobilized or movement from one places to other places to rectify or to fix various kind of machines and equipments. So here the most important part of that is known as resources, that is known as manpowers. So it is very much difficult to get highly skilled manpower for a particular organization. So that is why the training and placement department, the recruitment department or HR department are basically provide that is known as adequate trainings to enhance the skill of that is known as resources in the form of human resource. The next one is administration. So in case of administrations, the process of determining what, when, and how work should be done in accordance with a area of authority and responsibilities. So by the help of this simple example, starting from the plant manager to under the that is authority of plant manager, we have maintenance manager, we have maintenance supervisors, we have maintenance traders or trades like electricals, mechanicals or civil trades we have. The next we have maintenance planner, and finally the functional level of operation maintenance coordinators are there, especially reference to mechanical coordinators, electrical coordinator, or maybe civil coordinators are there. So whenever it is basically done through the top level of management to middle, and from the administrative levels, especially reference to middle level of management, they basically identify the process which determines what, when, how work should be done according to the HRE of authorities. So that HRE of authority or responsibilities will learn from the upcoming slides. The next, the third most that is known as component of that is known as maintenance organization we have, that is work planning and control systems. So it is a basic tools which is used for organization or organizing and scheduling the tasks, as well as providing the feedback on information that is necessary for the maintenance to be constantly modified. So as far as concerned with large, medium, and small scale industries, the organizing and scheduling tasks is different. So depending upon the situations, depending upon the error arise by the machines, or depending upon the breakdown arise by number of equipment, the planning's work or work planning and control system will be modified. So as I told in the last class that it is applicable for various kind of industries. So the work planning for steel industry is different, work planning for polymer industry is different, work planning for other industries is different. So in that cases, you have to go for constantly modification of your maintenance organizational structure, so that you can easily access the three component of your maintenance organizational structures. So these are the overview of your maintenance organizations, which consist of that is known as resources, administrations, then work planning, and the last one is control systems. Moving to the next ones. So before going to the successful organizations, first we have to understand what are the different maintenance department who are basically associated, and how the work or activities are basically conducted under the authority of successful maintenance organizations. So if you observe this particular figures, we have number of that is known as tasks are associated. The first important part is that is you have to arrange the resource allocation. So under resource, you have to identify number of peoples, and that number of peoples or individuals are simply converted into a team. So this team is responsible for that is providing adequate that is known as maintenance work inside the organizations. Then we have plant and equipment are there. Then we have, if you are assigned number of that is known as people to plant, in that cases the equipments and that is known as machines as well as spares has number of data. So people's, plant and equipments and data are the input for the resources. Moving to the other side, we have number of tasks are there. So first is unscheduled tasks, then we have scheduled tasks, and the last one is we have condition based tasks. So these are directly indicate the various form of or classification of your maintenance management. So in case of unscheduled that is known as maintenance, or scheduled maintenance, or condition based maintenance, these are the key inputs to the tasks. So under the maintenance departments, we have the systems, and we have information system to establish the better communication among departments levels, sub-department levels, and different level of the organizations. The next important part we have that is known as maintenance strategies. So depending upon the scheduled maintenance, unscheduled maintenance, or condition-based maintenance, you have to apply that is long-term as well as short-term maintenance strategies, so that you can easily overcome those amount of that is known as difficulties inside the organizations. So moving to next ones, the last input we have that is known as organizations. So in case of maintenance, as I told, we have around 6 number of input, or you can simply pronounce as in maintenance department, we have 6 number of inputs are there. The first important part is that is known as systems, then strategies, then tasks, then resources, then information, and the last one is organization. So by combining these 6 number of inputs, you can easily go for that is known as the most important objective of maintenance, that is known as minimization of total cost. The next is effective use of resources. The next is informations, and the last important part is safe maintenance, so that the material flow should be easily flow from one point to other points. So these are the activities basically considered under successful maintenance organizations. So moving to next one, we have that is known as phases of an engineering maintenance task. So for understanding this particular schematic of phases in case of engineering maintenance tasks or activities, so the first it will be initiated from the planning phase. The next important part is coordinating phase, and the third one we have that is known as completion phase. So if you goes to any kind of industries across the globe, whether it should be belong to large scale industry, medium scale industries, or small scale industries, these three that is known as parameters should be applied to any kind of industries. So let's start from the planning phase. So in case of planning phase, we have number of inputs are there. The first inputs we have scheduled tasks, then unscheduled tasks, and the third one we have condition based tasks. And similarly, for scheduled maintenance, unscheduled maintenance, or condition-based maintenance, it requires large amount of input for the planning phase. That means requirement of spare parts, materials, tools. The next important part we have that is known as maintenance information or drawings. So if it goes for engineering maintenance activities, large number of blueprints of that is known as mechanical drawings should be required so that the operator who are directly involved to provide the maintenance facilities, they can understand the different specification of machines as well as different that is known as tools so that they can easily perform the maintenance works. The next third one or third input we have that is known as established plant availabilities. So whenever the production department is provide the signal, then after they will perform the maintenance works inside the organizations. So these are basically, or these six number of inputs are basically required in case of planning phase. So after planning phase, they will release to the next issue plan to the coordinating phase. So in case of coordinating phase, we have certain amount of inputs are there. That means safety actions, which is given higher side of priority. So those who are involved in case of highly heat affected areas, just like boilers, just like turbines, just like movable item like conveyors, just like recognize casting machines. So these are highly affected areas. In that cases, huge amount of safety precautions should be taken. So these are known as safety actions. The next is instruction and manpowers or men. So in case of instructions, if you involve in your organization, especially reference to maintenance departments, they have their own standard operating procedures for various amount of equipments, various amount of that is known as system and subsystems. So before you have to execute any kind of maintenance work, in that cases you must go through the standard operating procedures manual of maintenance departments. So moving to next one, so we have provide spares. So it is the duty of maintenance department. They can collect the various amount of spares, then they give that is known as tools, machineries to provide various amount of coordinating phase. And apart from those things, the supervisors are or maintenance supervisors are basically responsible to coordinate various amount of activities that can easily engage large amount of manpower, take the higher set of safety precautions before implementing the coordinating phase. The next important part after the supervise the activities of maintenance, you have to allocate various amount of work centers. Then lies with the customers, then confirm the plant availabilities, and the next one is lies with the other disciplines. So these are the basic input for the coordinating phase. The third one we have that is known as completion phase. After coordinating phase, the entire information directly goes to completion phase. So in case of completion phase, you have to go for various amount of that is known as outputs. That means you have to take the advice from customers. So who are the customers? The internal employees are the customers. Internal department are the customers. The next is after completion phase, you have to provide the signals to the next department so that they can restart the plant again. And you have to collect the large amount of feedback to the plant. On the other hand, in case of analyze the problem, so whenever you go for that is known as completion phases, why this breakdown is occurring in the machines. So that root cause analysis should be done after the completion phase, so that it should not be affect other machines. It should not be affect the same amount of subsystem, same amount of system inside the organizations. Then, if required, you must go for reorder of material through the purchase departments. It should be arrange various amount of tools and spares and other maintenance related items to the organizations. So these are the phases. I repeat, we have three number of phases, especially reference to engineering maintenance tax applicable to heavy industries. The first one we have that is known as planning phase. The second one we have that is known as coordinating phase. So after coordination work is done, it is directly go for the completion phase. So here the most important part is that is known as feedback to plannings. That means you have to collect the large amount of feedback from various departments so that in the next time whatever there is difficulties faced by the department, you can easily rectify or fix the particular problems. So these are the phases of the known as engineering maintenance tasks. Moving to next one. The next one we have the structure of a large maintenance teams. So if you observe just like the organization structures in case of human resource management, the same pattern of that is known as organization structure is basically considered in case of maintenance management. So the first one we have top level of management. The next one is that is known as middle level of management, and the last one we have that is known as functional level of management. So in case of top level of management, they are basically identify the goals and budget of your maintenance, and basically they are designated as maintenance directors. So moving to the next ones. So in case of the middle level of management, these are simply managerial positions. That means maintenance manager, facility managers, maintenance supervisors, maintenance planners, then maintenance that is known as engineers. In some cases, in case of middle level of management, they must focus upon that is known as maintenance coordinators. So in case of maintenance coordinators, they can coordinate in case of that is known as uh, the coordination as well as the communication basically established between that is known as functional level of management or maybe the middle level of management. So, what are the basic job responsibility involved in case of a managerial position? The first one is maintenance planning and scheduling, then developing maintenance key performance indicators. The next is MRO for inventory controls, then training and supervising, then developing standard operating procedure, which is shortly known as SOPs, and the checklist for maintenance related works. And the last one we have that is known as management or managing vendors and contract negotiations. So these are the key responsibility involved in case of managerial position or middle level of management. Moving to next one, the functional levels, which are also known as that is known as blue collar workers, and the designations are given that is known as maintenance technicians, maintenance mechanics, or general maintenance workers. So the key responsibility is that these peoples are basically mobilized from one places to other places to fix various amount of maintenance related problems. So the job responsibility basically involve the first one is execution of preventive maintenance systems and repair related maintenance, then installing and operating the machines or equipments so that they can easily achieve any kind of production efficiency, and they can also achieve higher set of qualities in case of production systems. The next one is cleaning the equipments and the facilities. So these are the day-to-day activities basically involved in case of functional level of management. Moving to next one, the goals and objective of maintenance organizations. So we have few amounts of points I have highlighted here. The first one is that is known as maximum productions or availability of facilities at the lowest cost. That means whenever you focus upon maintenance organizations, their first objective is to optimize the maintenance cost, and the next is increase the standard of qualities and also implement the standard safety procedures. So these are the first point of your maintenance objectives. The next is identify and the implement of cost reduction strategies inside the organization for maintenance work. Then provide accurate equipment maintenance records. So record keeping is must in case of maintenance department. So these are basically used for future as well as past reference to operate the various kind of machines and equipments. The next we have that is known as collect necessary maintenance cost informations. So as I told, the most important objective of maintenance is to optimize the cost. That means you have to go for collect various amount of data which is necessary for cost reduction and cost information also. Then optimize maintenance resources. So in case of maintenance resources, we have men, machine, spare parts, tools are basically needed. So in that cases, you have to optimize the level of that is known as manpower, optimize the level of tools and spares so that the cost as well as higher efficiency of production should be easily achieved. The next one we have optimize the equipment lives. So by providing adequate that is known as maintenance, which is known as a day-to-day maintenance, or maybe weekly maintenance, or maybe monthly maintenance, or maybe that is known as quarterly maintenance. In that cases, you have to that is known as increase the life of various that is known as equipment, so that they can efficiently use for production related activities. The next is minimize the energy use. So previously, what happened? Nobody is basically focused upon save the that is known as utilities, but nowadays it's a another parameter which is considered under maintenance. So excess use of electricity, excess use of various that is known as raw material which is directly involved in case of maintenance. For example, oil, grease, lubricants. So you have to minimize the use of that kind of that is known as resources or natural resources. The next is minimize inventory on hands. So if you not optimize the inventory levels, if your inventory level is surpassed more than 30 and 40%, that means your plant it is directly or indirectly affect your plant productions. So it is the duty of maintenance organization they must go for minimum amount of inventory on hand, so that whenever it is needed, in that cases they are simply applied fast in fast out process, so that they can easily fix any kind of breakdown related issues. So these are the goals and objective of maintenance organizations. We'll discuss in the brief in the upcoming slides. So the first one is maximum productions or availabilities of facilities at the lowest cost, quality and safety standards. So if you break down this particular point into components, the first one is maintaining existing equipments and facilities. So this is the primary reason for existence of maintenance organizations. So you have to provide that is known as cleaning operations, then go for toppings, various amount of gear oils, then if required you must go for lubricating various machines, so that they can maintain higher amount of that is known as production process, especially reference to the region of that is implementing maintenance inside the organizations. The next important part is that is known as equipments and facility inspection and services. So it is the duty of supervisor who must go for visual inspection of various kind of machines and tool, so that it is increase the that is known as the percentage of service, as well as it is reducing the number of unexpected breakdowns, especially reference to service interruptions. So if you go to this particular point, this activity is designed to increase the availability of equipments, facilities by reducing the number of unexpected breakdown or service interruptions. The next third one we have equipment allocations and alterations. So since outside contract personnel basically used to perform installation and alterations, as the maintenance will be maintaining the equipment, so they should involve in any alteration or new equipment installations. So most of the cases, the third parties company are basically assigned by the company for installation of machines. So after installation, they must involve the company internal employees, so that they can easily understand the installation process, the commissioning process, and how to run the machines in an efficient manner to achieve higher set of production activities. So this is the point we can basically elaborate the equipment installation by other company, but here the company employee must be involved. Moving to next one, the next point we have identify and implement the cost reductions. So as far as concerned, the objective of that is known as maintenance organizations to find the way to decrease the maintenance and operation expenses. So as you know, in case of maintenance costs or maintenance expenses, it is of two types, that is known as direct expenses or indirect expenses. So it is the duty of operations, that is known as operation or maintenance managers, to reduce the cost in every aspect. So whether the cost in case of direct cost or maybe indirect cost. So point number two, by examining the maintenance practices, adjustment could be made into tools, trainings, repair procedures, and or work plannings to reduce the labor or material required to perform the specific job. So it is the duty of that is known as maintenance managers, maintenance engineer, or maintenance supervisors. They can go for investigating maintenance practice or examine the maintenance practice. So if possible, they must go for adjustment of tools, then provide adequate training to the functional level of employees. If required, they must go for that is known as repairs. And in some cases, they are also authorized to planning to reduce the labor or materials which are basically needed for a specific job. So they can maintain large amount of standard operating procedure for maintenance related activities inside the organizations. So third one we have that is known as in additions in any time gain while making repairs translated into reduce the downtime, which is known as increase availabilities and which is costly than the maintenance expenditure. So the third point directly elaborate the time gain while making the repairs. So in that cases you have to reduce the downtime of maintenance so that the maintenance expenditure cost should not be increased. So these are the key points related to identify, implement the cost reductions. Moving to next ones. The next one we have provide accurate equipment maintenance records. So record keeping is must for maintenance organization so that these records are vastly used for future course of actions as well as they are basically analyze the past breakdowns so that they can easily implement any kind of that is known as procedures or standard operating manuals so that the new employees as well as old employees can easily understand the process and different parameter of that is known as maintenance. So if you read out the point, a plant or machine history record is analogous to the medical history record kept by the medical practitioner. So regular pursuals and analysis of plant maintenance record is only sound and logical way of obtaining the information that will be enable the management to the taken action based on the factual data to raise maintenance standard and improve the cost effectiveness. So these record, as I told that these record are vastly used for future course of actions for specific number of machines. For example, those who machines who have large amount of complex spares and parts are there. In that cases, you have to maintain the records along with that is known as the blueprint of the machines, the specification data of machines, so that the engineers and the mechanics, those who are directly involved to provide the maintenance activities on that particular machine, they can easily understand this is the basic procedure to fix the particular machines. The next point we have collect necessary maintenance cost informations. So in that cases, the cost information is divided into general areas like labor cost. Labor cost means those are the laborers who are basically involved in case of loading, unloading, set up the machines. The next one is material cost, the tool cost, and equipment cost, and the contract work cost. And the last one is lost production and miscellaneous cost. So the accurate cost information helps make a realistic maintenance budgets. So plan appropriate action for the future cost of reductions. So without knowing these various costs involved in case of maintenance, like your labor cost or material cost, which is increased day by day, even in case of rapid initiation of large amount of innovation technology, the tool costs are also increased, especially reference to higher precise diamond tools, CNC machines tools. Cost is rapidly rise day by day. So you have to keep track on these costs inside the organization so that in the future course of actions you can reduce the cost in various aspects, especially reference to maintenance organizations or maintenance management cost. Moving to next one. The next one we have optimize maintenance resources. So in case of resources, as I told that in main machine spares tools are basically or equipments are basically used. So here what will happen is making the most of the resources in hand is important in maintenance. So whenever it's required, you can easily mobilize these resources or easily allocate these resources in various systems and subsystems inside the organizations. The next is a very few maintenance organizations have many people. For example, if you go to large scale industries, they have a large number of teams are formed, especially reference to electrical maintenance, especially reference to mechanical maintenance, especially reference to civil maintenance. But it is very difficult for small scale industries. So they have limited amount of maintenance resources. In case of skilled workers, in case of skilled mechanics, in case of a highly optimized tool, in case of the known as availability of spare. So in this regard, you have to focus upon the known as in hand that is known as resources so that whenever it required or it is useful, in that cases we can vastly use these resources or allocate these resources to rectify or eliminate the percentage of fault inside the organizations. The last point we have, this can be achieved by properly planning and scheduling the plant maintenance workloads. So the maintenance workload is basically executed by the middle level of managers, especially reference to maintenance managers. They can plan day-to-day basis, they can plan weekly basis, they must go for that is known as monthly plan. If required, they must go for that is known as quarterly plan. But the thing is that in case of day-to-day work of maintenance, they must go for scheduling the plant maintenance workload, and that workload is properly balanced so that those who are the employees who are involved in case of shift-wise or in case of day-wise shift, they can easily understand their responsibilities and they can execute any kind of that is known as unplanned as well as planned maintenance work for the various department and sub-departments. The next point we have that is known as optimize equipment lives. So any equipment require proper maintenance. For example, if you go for hydraulic machine or if you go for various motors with various pump used in case of industrial applications. So in that cases, you have to deliver its desired service life. That means service given it at a small interval of time so that they can efficiently work, and they must involve higher side of efficiencies manner towards the towards getting a higher amount of production. So moving to next one that is known as minimize energy uses. So equipments and facilities that are properly maintained will require less energy to operate. So in that cases, the utility managers or energy managers or electrical that is known as engineers are responsible. So they must go for that higher that is energy efficient machines. So those machines, those equipments have that is known as higher amount of star ratings, especially reference to utility star. So these machines should be employed inside the organization to reduce the use of energies to operate the various amount of that is known as maintenance work. For example, previously we are basically use various amount of that is known as drilling tools, cutting tools, which don't have a star rating performance. But nowadays, if you go to the company like Bosch or any other company, they are vastly used that is known as machines who require less amount of energy to operate. So these kind of advanced tools and machines should be introduced in case of maintenance department so that the energy should be saved and the higher amount of maintenance activity should be achieved. The next one is minimize the inventory on hand. So in the initial stage of your maintenance management, I have already told that inventory which is directly involved in case of maintenance management, it is the duty of various maintenance manager or maintenance department. They can easily reduce and optimize the level of inventories. So how to reduce and optimize the level of inventory? That means you have to go for various amount of spare parts, tools, who are basically involved in case of maintenance related works. So if you read out the point one, since the maintenance spare parts average is 40% of the total maintenance budgets, and reducing on-hand quantity is a key issue. So on-hand inventory or keeping inventories or excess amount of inventories, it's directly or indirectly affect that is known as various amount of expenses. For example, if I hold the inventory for longer amount of period, holding cost is applicable. So these holding costs is directly affect the production expenses. So that means the cost of holding inventory in stock will average between 20 to 30%. So this 20 to 30% is advisable in case of industries, but it is directly go for the actual price of item. So in reduction in inventory, result the compounding savings. So if I go for less amount of on-hand inventories, so it is less than that is known as 10% or less than maybe 15%. These are advisable in nowadays because holding costs, as I told, that is directly or indirectly affect your production expenses. So it is the duty of that is maintenance department to minimize the inventory on hands or optimize the inventory level so that they can directly go for saving large amount of cost and expenses, especially reference to the production cost. Moving to next ones. The next one is factor affecting the maintenance structures. The first factors are that is known as maintenance environment. So what is maintenance environment? We have to understand. These are the environment which provide better amount of that is known as team or maintenance organization structures who are responsible for that is known as provide higher side of that is known as cost reductions. Then next is higher amount of that is known as qualities of product, and they will provide large amount of facilities in the form of maintenance management to the organizations. So in case of maintenance environment, it is of two. It is directly affected by the two factors. So one is internal factors, and other is external factors. So in case of internal factors, first I read out this particular point, then elaborate one by one. So the first one is industrial relation, which is shortly known as IR relations. So if you establish large amount of IR relations in between number of and similar industries, you can get benefit from the maintenance. For example, you have a shortage of various amount of components. You can directly access through the industrial relation to other companies so that they will provide on-time delivery of various amount of spare parts. So the next important part is employee motivations. So in case of employee motivations, company implement various amount of schemes. For example, that is known as leave benefits, that is known as extra wages for extra amount of work. They also provide large amount of bonuses to motivate the people. So think about the organizations like House of Tata or House of Aditya Birla, especially reference to Hindalco Industries, or especially reference to Tata Steel. They will motivate the employee by providing various amount of facilities. So they establish that is known as schools, medicals, amenity centers, parks, and for internal or inside organization, they will provide that is known as breakfast, meal, tea breaks. So many things are basically observed to motivate the people. And in case of monetized benefit, one of which is most important part for employee motivation, they will bonus that is known as provide the bonuses. So the next important part is incentive schemes. So these incentive schemes also motivate the entire maintenance force towards the dedication of towards the that is known as maintenance activities. So they will provide large amount of incentives, as I told in the previous point, employee motivations. So incentive schemes are applied by various industries. So the next important point we have that is known as management changes. So in case of management changes, that also impact in case of management. So they can restrict the fund from the by the finance departments. They can optimize or restrict in case of providing the spare by the store and purchase department. So if old management is provided large amount of facilities, when the management is changed, it is directly affect the maintenance that is known as departments. The next is new product launch. So in the recent era of Industry 4.0 or Industry 5.0, many companies basically focus upon higher side of competitive advantage. So to get competitive advantage, they rapidly launch new product. So when the company launch new product, new machines, new technologies, the next important part is new assemble line is introduced by the company. So it is very much difficult for the maintenance team, which is also affect the maintenance team to understand the various specifications, the efficiencies, the setup of machines, and the last and most important part is providing the maintenance service for the new assemble lines. The next important part is, or next point for internal factor that is known as poor communication. So communication is nowadays that is known as flexibles through various mode. But if you are not clearly communicate to three level of management from the top to middle and middle to the functional level of maintenance that is known as mechanics or workers, in that cases it directly affect your maintenance. The next is poor result and economic drive. So it is basically responsible by or it is done by the that is known as organization point of view. But the thing is that if you not implement any kind of that is known as outputs or the output qualities dictated day by day, in that cases the company is not getting higher set of benefits. So these are also affect the maintenance teams quality of product. The next one is economic aspect of various things like raw materials or that is known as other factors like your known as poor communications. The next is change in managements. Management is very rude in case of that is known as providing the spare. So in that cases you cannot achieve higher set of profits. The next one is outdated plant and lack of investments. So outdated means if you are implementing maintenance management, for example, if you not introduce the recent advanced tools, especially reference to maintenance. So in that cases, what will happen? The maintenance will be goes to degrade level, or that is known as goes to soil level, and that directly affect your plant and plant operation related activities. So in that cases, the other department like finance department, if they are not arranged various amount of fund, especially reference to foreign direct investment or FDI fund, is not properly diverted towards different department, sub-department, that also impact the recognized maintenance works. The next is shortage of skills. So, especially reference to Indian industry scenarios, most of the cases the land losers are simply converted into workers. So, it takes a large amount of time to convert this unskilled worker into a semi-skilled, then skilled, then highly skilled workers. So, in that cases, it is the duty and responsibility of maintenance organization structure to provide adequate training to increase the skill of workers. The lack of training, as I told in the case of production operation and treatment ships. So nowadays, various organizations are providing large amount of trainings to their operators to enhance their skills, and they are also mobilized for various industry visits. So during the industry visit, they can understand the environment of the industries and understand the environment of maintenance work, so that they can provide within the fraction of second to fix the particular machine and identify the problems. Then next one we have resistance to change. That means management and subfloors. So the subfloor must be neat and clean so that they can easily perform any kind of maintenance work. The last internal factor that is known as politics. So if you goes to any kind of industry across the globe, so there are number of employee unions are there, and due to employee unions and politics, it is directly involved in various that is known as industries. So if you recall the scenario of Maruti Suzuki during 90s, if you recall the scenario in case of various industries or industrial build across the state of Odisha, so due to internal politics, especially by the labor unions, it is directly or indirectly affect the maintenance environments. So for them, the plant will be suffers. For them, the economic drive. For them, the poor results will be there. And few company are that is known as find there is difficulties, especially reference to maintenance activities. So these are the internal factors, especially reference to maintenance environment of a maintenance organization structures. The next we are going to discuss about external factors. The first important part is competitions. So due to a rapid increase in case of competitions, the companies are implementing or launching various amount of what is known as competitive advantage to stay competitive in the markets. So due to higher amount of competitions, few company are taking the advantages and few are not taking the advantage. So due to not getting the competitive advantage, in that cases they are not updated their that is known as plant, they are not updated the maintenance facilities, they are not updated their service facilities, so that they are lack in case of that is known as overcome about the competitors in the available in the markets. The next is loss of market shares. These are also affect the maintenance that is on the environment. So, for example, if you take the example of various industries across India, so due to loss of market share, so they are still struggle to get the higher amount of it market share. The next we have the politics. So in case of politics, the external politics by various amount of very known as industries are struggle in case of providing the adequate maintenance or getting the that is wide amount of opportunity to provide the maintenance environments. The next one is environmental pressures, that is known as green issues. So in case of environmental pressures, for example, company use various or companies struggle to get various amount of environmental pressure by locals or by the state or by the national. So in that cases, they are also impact in case of maintenance environment. So let's take a small example of various industries across the state of Odisha. So in the state of Odisha, basically steel industries are here. So in the case of steel industries, due to environmental pressures, especially reference to dumping of fly ash, dumping of unwanted impurities of iron ores and coals, these are very much issues. They can that is going to easily focus upon that is known as various rivers, various that is known as local bodies for landfilling activities. And due to the higher amount of noisy, dusty environments, due to the environmental pressure done by the local environmental pollution control boards, they are directly cause for close down this kind of industries. So this is small issue, but due to implementation of various environmental drive to enhance the that is known as work cultures and work environment for maintenance work, we can overcome these kind of that is known as pressures. Then the next one is legislation, especially reference to national and internationals. Then labor mobilities, and the new business in this particular area. So these are the different external factors in case of environmental or as well as directly impact on the maintenance management environment of a particular companies. So just to review, the maintenance environment each of two types. One is internal factors and another is external factors. So we have discussed all the point, especially reference to internal factor as well as external factors. The next we have to understand that is the maintenance organizational structures, merits and demerits. So if you implement your maintenance organizational structure in a proper directions, you can find large amount of benefits. And if you not implement your maintenance organizational structures, not properly allocation of the main machine materials, in that cases you also get higher side of that is known as demerits. In that cases, you can face large amount of, as I told or discussed in the last slide, like economical drive. The next one is environmental pressures. The next one is legislation, especially reference to national and international. And in that cases, few amount of plant is directly closed down there or shut down their entire that is known as maintenance production works. So let's understand what are the merits of this maintenance organizational structures. The first one, we have achieved efficiency through the special actions. So this higher side of efficiency through the special action means if you think or to take the example of a small system which consists of mechanical maintenance, electrical maintenance or civil maintenance, these are the specialized areas for a particular industries. And that industries have number of units are there. For example, production units, then packaging units, raw material units, maintenance, store units are there. So you can also use various amount of that is efficiency through the specializations of maintenance. The next one is develop higher maintenance expertise that differentiate and delegates day-to-day maintenance decisions. It is done by the middle level of management, and they can perform in case of functional level of that is known as maintenance management levels. The retains centralized control of maintenance strategy decisions. So as I told, in case of maintenance strategies decision taken by the middle level of management, that may be long-term maintenance strategy or short-term that is known as maintenance strategy decision taken by the authorities. Then tightly link the maintenance organization structures to the strategy by designated key activities for separate units. For example, for mechanical maintenance, so their maintenance SOP is different. For electrical maintenance, their electrical SOP is different. For civil maintenance, their civil SOP is different. So whenever you go for that is known as combined activities of maintenance, that must they must made a link between other maintenance services so that they can easily achieve higher side of that is known as objective of or goals of maintenance organizational structures. So these are the key advantage or merits of your maintenance organizational structures. So let's discuss about the demerits of maintenance organizational structures. The first important part is competence disrupt and occasionally using contradictory orders. So whenever it is not centralized, it arises large amount of contradictory order by the top level of management. And the next one is a complicated communication network established and promote narrow specializations and maintenance libraries, and conflicts are also rise in between number of workers and worker unions. So next point is create difficulty in case of maintenance and coordinating or coordinations and decision makings. So when number of rivalries arise, in that cases it creates large number of difficulty in case of coordination of maintenance work. Even it is also affect the maintenance decision making. The next important part is in some cases the maintenance specialist may seek in a mini empires, and they thought that they are the empire of this particular organization. So these things should be not happen inside the organizations, which directly affect the maintenance organization structures. So these are the merits and demerits of your maintenance organization structures. Moving to next ones. The next one, before starting that is known as, you have to understand very basic organizational structures required for maintenance. So we have centralized organizational structures. The first one is general managers. They are basically at the top level of manager. Then in case of middle level of management, we have procurement managers, maintenance managers, and production managers. Under maintenance managers, we have mechanical engineering superintendent and electrical engineering superintendent. So under mechanical superintendent, we have pump operators are there, we have engine operators, we have boiler operators, and we have a foreman for all the concerned departments, starting from the pump, engines, and boilers. So this is a specific example for a steel plants. The next, in case of electrical engineering superintendent, under the authorities, we have motors operators are there. We have operators for electronics devices, and the next is that is known as electric distributions. So for them, one foreman should be assigned. And if you go for centralized organization structures, when any kind of difficulties arise, especially reference to pump or motors, so they take the decision from the maintenance manager, and maintenance manager is circulate the entire information to the general managers. So in this regard, they can also inform to the for spare parts, they can inform to the purchase managers, and for taking the approval for maintenance work, they can take the approval from the production manager. So this is the simple centralized organization structure for maintenance. Moving to next one. The next one is decentralized organization structures. So in case of decentralized organization structures, under top level of management, we have that is known as maintenance managers. Under maintenance manager, we have four number of departments heads are there, or four number of that is known as department superintendents are there. The first one is spinning superintendents. Then we have weaving superintendents. We have that is known as maintenance workshop superintendents, and we have a civil work maintenance superintendents there. So this is a typical example of a textile industries who are basically perform spinning, weaving, and maintenance related work. So in case of spinning work, we have maintenance foremen, number of maintenance foremen are there. Similarly, in case of weaving superintendent, we have number of that is known as maintenance foremen are there. Similarly, if you go for that is known as maintenance workshop superintendent, we have number of foremen are there. So, for example, any difficulty will be happen in case of spinning departments. They take their own decisions to rectify the problem as well as eliminate the error or faults. Similarly, any kind of difficulties faced by the weaving departments, they are also eliminating that is their department levels for fixing the machines or eliminate any kind of error, especially reference to maintenance work. Similarly, in case of that is known as maintenance workshop, they can provide large amount of facility for other departments like spinning departments, for weaving departments, or other general work departments by implementing or by allocation of number of foremen to other departments. Similarly, if you go for civil maintenance works, they can take large amount of decisions their own, and all the decisions are taken by the department level, but they must inform the maintenance manager so that they can ever or they can arrange large amount of fund as well as inventory for other departments. So this is the centralized organization structures for maintenance organization, especially reference to a textile industries. Moving to next ones. The next one is mix or hybrid organization structures. So similarly, we have top level of management. General manager is there. Under general manager, we have maintenance managers. We have account or accounting department is there. We have procurement or purchase managers are there. And last, we have production managers are there. So this general manager can assign number of units. For example, unit 1 cost centers, then unit 2 cost centers, then unit 3 cost centers. And if you have number of units, for example, we have 4 to 5 number of assemble lines are there. For each unit of productions, they can also coordinate it. These 4 number of departments are also coordinating to enhance the productions and to reduce the that is known as maintenance in every aspect. For example, Unit 1 is face any difficulties in their machines or equipments. So they immediately contact to the maintenance managers. In case of purchase of spare parts, they contact the procurement managers. In case of that is known as higher amount of breakdowns of machines, they can also inform to the production manager. So that production managers, by the collaboration or coordination of accounting and purchase, they can directly go for arrangement of or allocation of various machines, tools, and deployment of that is known as contracts workers by the approval of the general manager maintenance. So nowadays, in various industries, especially in reference to Industry 4.0 or Industry 5.0, this hybrid organizational structure is vastly used. And under the that is known as philosophy of flexible manufacturing systems, these are vastly used to increase the efficiency of machines as well as increase the efficiency of productions. And higher set of quality should be achieved by implementing these kind of organizational structures inside the organizations. So let's take an example of a small that is known as uh, a schematic view of organizational structure for a large scale industries. So if you go to the top level of managers, we have work managers are there. So this work manager or under the work managers, we have manufacturing superintendents, we have industrial engineers, then we have plant engineers, then we have plant control superintendents are there. So under the authority of plant engineer, we have utility engineers who are responsible for arranging utility facility like electricities, waters. The next we have job and cost control superintendent. So his responsibility basically involve in case of cost cutting procedures inside the organizations, and they are also used to go for higher amount of planning the job. The next we have maintenance engineers, and the last one is this most important that is known as department that is known as housekeeping department or service protective supervisors are there. So if you goes to the organization like that is known as NALCO, if you goes to the organization like that is known as Vedant, or if you goes to the organization like Tata Steels, they have established this housekeeping departments inside their organization so that they can go for large amount of housekeeping activities, especially reference to maintenance, and they are also take the that is known as responsibility of higher amount of safety service proactive or protective activities inside the organizations. So the next important part is that under the maintenance engineer, we have maintenance superintendent is there, and under superintendent we have number of foremen are there. So under number of foremen, for example, if you goes to foreman one or maintenance foreman one, in that cases we have repair crew is there, we have oilers are there, and we have filter changer or fillers are there. Similarly, in case of maintenance foreman two, we have electricians are there, so we have motors mechanics and helpers are there. Similarly, if you go to maintenance foreman 3, we have welders are there, we have civil masons are there, we have carpenters are there, we have painters, and the helpers are basically needed for this kind of activities. Then similarly, if you go for plumbing pipe fittings, we have number of plumbers are there, we have pipe filters are there, and we have helpers are there. And similarly, if you go to the last one, maintenance foreman 5, so we have mechanics are there, we have mechanics are there, and number of helpers are there. So this is the simple maintenance organization chart for a large plant. It is applicable to, as I told, the industry like Nalco, which is very much famous in case of metal industries. It is also applicable to Vedant, which is very much famous in case of aluminum refineries. If it is applied to Tata Steels, who are basically applied or manufacturing is very much famous for that is known as higher amount of production steels. So when you focus upon these kind of industries, you have to focus upon large amount of maintenance organization chart. Moving to next one. The next one is role and responsibilities. So in case of role and responsibilities, the first important part is title and job descriptions and accountabilities. So it is a taboo in case of various amount of job and job descriptions. They are vastly used, the assistants, manager, deputy managers, but their duties and job responsibility basically involve to assist the managers and to remove the overworked managers. So the first one is help with overworked managers to enhance the assistants and deputy status, to cover the senior person's absence. So the next important point, we have frontline supervisors are in charge of the following. So who are the frontline supervisor? Frontline supervisor have control over the qualities, then reduce the cost, then reduce the lead time of maintenance, then thoroughness of works, and well training and motivation should be given to the large amount of functional level of employees. So these are simply known as frontline supervisors. The next we have maintenance schedule and planning. So job plans, estimates, priority work schedules, maintenance record, indexing of various documents, report on performance versus goals. So this maintenance and planning should be maintained in case of standard operating procedures and manuals of your maintenance management. It is kept by various departments, especially reference to electrical maintenance department, the next is civil maintenance departments or mechanical maintenance departments. So they can easily understand if they go through the SOP of this kind of manuals to understand the maintenance scheduling as well as the planning activities related to maintenance management. The next is reliability engineering includes the follows. So it maintaining and analyzing the equipment and histories records to forecast the maintenance needs. So whenever you focus upon the known as forecast of various breakdowns, the large amount of data should be needed, which is vastly used in nowadays that is known as condition based, that is monitoring or that is known as maintenance. So these data are basically used for past record to forecast the maintenance needs, and they must ensure the maintainability of new installations, new commissioning of machines, elimination of repetitive failures by implementing root cause analysis, then providing technical advice to the maintenance. So these are under the reliability engineering to provide higher site of maintenance inside the organization, especially refers to those organizations who are used flexible manufacturing systems, who have large amount of product mix. And the last one is lead team and leadership. So large amount of team leadership is required so that they can easily direct the people from mobilize from one department to other department, one system to other system, one unit to other units. So given the likelihood that someone of the organizations will be made of decentralized team, so we have already discussed this particular part, manager to the number of what is known as maintenance superintendent, then number of superintendent to number of department, number of what is known as maintenance operators. So whether they mix the team of specialists in one field or team of people with a variety of skills should be required. So in these cases, multi-skill operators are basically assigned so that the leaders and the team should be easily mobilized to provide higher set of maintenance related works. Moving to next one, the next one we have evolving maintenance organizations. Thank you.